All right, so we have when you set out to fail, writes John Holt in his book, How Children Fail. One thing is certain, you can't be disappointed. What do I need to change or add or do?
Change disappointed.
Change disappointed. It's misspelled, right?
Yeah.
How do I spell it?
DISAPPOI.
Very good. What else needs to be done? Underline the book. If it's published, produced, underline it. Bound, you underline it. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
Quotations after fail.
When you set out to fail, yes, quotations after fail. Okay? Anything else?
Quotations before one.
Quotations before one. Anything else?
And apostrophe.
Very good. Where?
In between the N and the T.
In between the N and the T. Apostrophe between the N and the T. Very good. Is it anything else? Does it look good? Will you guys close that game, please? And pay attention to your English class? I would really appreciate it. Is there anything else that needs to be done? It looks good to me. Does it look good to you? Yeah? You all are afraid to tell me. There's nothing else wrong, Miss Arnie. You all are quiet. Okay, so tell me, what is the subject and the verb of the sentence? The main subject, main verb. Well, let's pull out all of our prepositional phrases. Prepositions are not going to be a subject and the verb, are they? Okay, so give me a prepositional phrase. Anybody? Prepositional phrase. In his book. Any other prepositional phrases? Question for you. When you set out to fail, set out or out to fail? Set out or out to fail? When you set out to fail or set out to fail? I know, me too. How is it being used? Is it being used when you set out to fail? You're like set out or out to fail? Which one sounds better? Which one would be better here? Guess. Anybody? Set out. That's what you like? Does everybody agree with Holden? Yeah? Okay. So then what is to fail? It looks like a preposition, doesn't it? Yeah. I believe that this is not a preposition. I believe this is called a verbal, and we're looking at an infinitive verbal. Okay? This is where it looks like a preposition, but is fail a, somebody look that up. Look it up really quick. What does fail mean? Tell me what part of speech fail is. The idea to fail is to not succeed, right? Am I right? Okay. So tell me what fail is. It is a verb? Is it an adjective?
Transitive verb.
A transitive verb. right? Okay, so we're looking at a verb. So it definitely is. This is definitely a verbal, and it's definitely going to be a, what did I say it was? Infinitive. My brain just suddenly stopped. It's an infinitive, okay? So to fail is the idea that we're going to fail. Does it make sense? It's we're not going to succeed, okay? So it's definitely going to be set out. You sat out, okay? Now, first hour, that dash caused some discussion. What else could go there beside the dash? A semicolon. And I told them that I would accept the semicolon because it's so closely related that I would accept the semicolon. That dash also is a signal to your brain that there's continued information, but it's not necessarily a part of that sentence. Does it make sense to you? Okay. So, who or what are we talking about? Let's go back to that question. John Holt. What is John Holt doing? John Holt writes. Writes what? He writes not book because it's in a prepositional phrase. So it cannot be. Very good. And you're going to put that whole thing on that line because it's part of the title. Okay, it is a title. Very good. Okay. So now we have these words. Writes is gone. John Holt is gone. In his book, we're going to drop it down. It's a prepositional phrase, so we're not going to use it. I'm not going to worry about it being a subject of a sentence. Now tell me, where's another subject? Let's break it down in the beginning. You have a subordinate clause here. A subordinate clause is always introduced by a it can be introduced by a subordinate. It's not always, sorry. A subordinate clause can be introduced by a relative pronoun. One of the relative pronouns is when. Okay? When, I think. Anyway, it's a relative, it's a subordinate clause. Introduces the subordinate clause, right? When you set out to fail. So you is going to be your subject. In a subordinate clause, you have a subject and a verb. I do know that. Your verb is now going to be set, right? Set where? Set out. Out is going to be your adverb. Does it make sense? Okay? So we have another sentence line, don't we? You set. Okay? Do you have another sentence in here? Would you be surprised if I told you had two more? You can, not can't. What is can't? What is not? What part of speech is not? You should have it in your notes. You can be, right? Do you know what part of speech not is? And under what condition? You guys are so quiet today. Are you tired? Yes. You're not with me today, are you? Yes. You got to be with me. Come on, get with me here. What is not? Look in your notes, guys. Use your notes. Come on. You should have written this down. And because I told you we have 4 sets of sentences, we need to find the other subject verb. Do you know what not is? Not a gerund, but I'm glad that you took a chance. Look it up. I'm really glad that you told him. Thank you for at least attempting to guess here. What part of speech is not? It's an adverb. Under what condition? Okay. Adverb. Do you remember taking notes where I told you guys the adverb generally ends in ly? It answers when, where, under what condition, and how. Generally ending in ly. Do you remember that? And ends in ly, like softly, quickly, quietly, friendly. That answers that how question. When, it will be like a time frame, okay? So that whole subordinate clause is actually acting like an adverb subordinate clause, okay? Under what condition, please, okay? Adverb is going to be an under what condition? Not and no are always adverbs. You see that D on there? Are always adverbs, okay? Not and no. Never, neither. No, neither is going to be a preposition. Never definitely is an adverb, okay? Under what condition? Make sense? Yeah? Okay. So tell me, where's my next subject verb? We already have this one. We already have this one. So what's left? One thing. Is it one thing or is it thing? Because we're asking how many. Making that a how many? Adjective. Very good. Even though I gave it to you. Thing. What about that thing? Is. Look up certain. Tell me what it means. Tell me what part of speech certain is. Aren't you guys glad I'm letting you use your devices today? Tell me what certain is. Jillian.
My advice is very charging, but like even certain, like I'm certain my song is over there.
I am certain. Certain means definite. I want to say it's an adjective. Is it? So we have a linking verb here, or linking a link here. Thing describing certain. Now we have a predicate adjective. Okay? Malachi, I will have this. I'm recording all of this.
Okay.
You will be getting it, and you'll hear your name on the recording and your
Really?
voice. Yes. Okay? One thing is certain. Yeah. Okay? So how many subjects, verbs do we have in this one? This one's complex, isn't it? This one is complex. So can we restructure it? John Holt writes in his book, How Children Fail, comma, open quote. When you set out to fail, one thing is certain, you can't be disappointed. Or, John Holt writes in his book, How Children Fail, comma, one thing is certain, you can't be disappointed when you set out to fail. Can I restructure it? One thing is certain, you can't be disappointed when you set out to fail, writes John Holt in his book, How Children Fail. It all basically depends on style. Does that make sense to you? Okay. The author chose to write it like this, making it very confusing. But if you take it and you pull it apart the way that I did, where I showed you guys, okay, let's pull out the preposition. Let's look at the quoted material. I never said that, but let's look at the quoted material. Let's look for subordinate clauses, okay? And then when you figure that stuff out, you can start crossing stuff off and find the main sentence. All of that actually is connected to that top. All of that is connected to this. It's connected to this top one. And you'd have all kinds of like bars and all kinds of dotted lines and everything everywhere. But we're not going to worry about that today. I just mainly wanted you guys to pull the subject and verbs out. Sound good?
Yeah, you send that to me, that video?
Is that good?
Can you send me that video to you?
You want the video?
Yes, yes.
I will. All right, stop recording.